Well, I got thinking this morning. This is my third one today. And I was just reminiscing. And this is what happened one time when many years ago. Remember the man I told you that was spending weekends in jail because he embezzled money from the church and his wife was a secretary? Well, this involves that church. Years before the explosion happened, Nettie Metcalf, who I worked for, in fact I lived right across the street from her in the trailer that she owned, and I gave her $100 a month, and I delivered mail from 98 to 2003 or 2004, something like that, before my arrest. Well, this church that Nettie and Art went to every last Friday of every month, all the men of that church would go to the church for supper, and they'd have a guest speaker to present a message. We had the lawyer that told me I had to obey everybody. He was a guest speaker there. I still can't remember his name, but he was also a member of the church that I was a member of, First Baptist Church of Moncks Corner, where again that Sunday school situation occurred. But anyways, this is what happened one of those Friday nights. Now you gotta remember, I've been going to this church on Friday nights for about a year. Nettie and Art trying their best to get me to transfer my membership there, but no, I'm solid in Moncks Corner First Baptist. But I enjoyed the Scrubbin Association. That's a 4-county thing where the men of the Scrubbin Association would meet in different churches throughout the 4 counties on the first Monday night of every month. We'd go to that church for dinner. Art and I went one time, and we missed it by a week. We got our wires crossed or something. But just so happened the church that night was having a spaghetti dinner. The women were putting it on because they were getting ready for the Christmas pageant, and they were putting together their little thing on what they were going to do for Christmas. This was something around September, October time, because they were preparing to have a big shindig for the Christmas morning message. So they invited us. We had homemade spaghetti and sauce and garlic bread, and we took part in the festivities that night, and they accepted our remarks concerning that Christmas pageant. But that was Scrubbin Association, and Art and I went to that thing for years. It was fantastic. Art and I were best of friends. We enjoyed each other's company, just like Nettie and I were best of friends. Her and I enjoyed each other's company. My mom, when Mom and Dad came down, I was 50 and woke up one morning, 2 of my teeth were on my pillow, so I called Mom that I was going to go down to the denture place and have all my teeth taken out. Well, Mom asked me to wait until her and Dad came down. So her and Dad came down on a Friday. We went over and I introduced Mom to Nettie, and Mom and I were sitting at Nettie's kitchen table talking, and Mom looked at me and said, so in other words, the next time you're going to come home is when you're going to bury one of us. And I looked at Mom. You mean I gotta go then too? Nettie blew a gasket, chastising me, telling me you will not talk like that to your mother in my house, and you will apologize to your mother. And Nettie's just coming unglued on me. And Mom started laughing. Nettie stopped, looked at my mother, and my mom said, Nettie, for what I've seen and for what I've heard from you, I don't think I have to worry about my son at all. Nettie had that questionable look in her face, And then she started laughing, and we had a very good night. It was fun. Following Monday morning, I went to the denture clinic, and they took x-rays and said they could remove 10 teeth. Luckily, Mom was there. Mom came up and talked to the doctor, told the doctor it was 7 years that she suffered going and coming and going and coming and going and coming and going and coming, and that I inherited her teeth because the same thing is happening to me. So the doctor agreed to take them all and put in dentures. So, do I recommend that? Yes. If you're going to have dentures, have them all taken out. Suffer for 2 weeks after taking the pills, and then your problems are over. Don't be like my mom and suffer through different dentures for 6 years before you finally get a full set of teeth. Do it all in one shot. Anyways, getting back to that story. On Friday night, last Friday of every month, the church would get together, and like I said, they'd have guest speakers. Well, this one night, one of the members of the church gave a speech. Now, there was about 30 men there. It was a pretty good church. Membership was about 70 people. 70 different families in that area went to that church. The man was retired. He used to go to Lake Marion every day to fish on his boat. And he was telling us that that morning he put his boat out and he noticed this gentleman fishing on the pier. So he invited the man to go out to the lake with him. And they spent about 10 hours out there, at which time the man accepted Jesus Christ as his Lord and Savior. Well, the man said he had to leave at 3 o'clock because he had an appointment at 5. So he dropped the guy off at the pier and took his boat and went home, and then went to church to set up the thing for tonight. And that's why I'm glad I'm talking tonight, because I need to ask you guys permission to ask the guy to come next month on Friday night, because the man is black. A hush went throughout the whole audience. Well, the man across from me raised his hand, and he got the floor, and he expressed his opinion concerning having a black man come to their church. Dead set against it. We do not want the blacks in our church. I sat there and stared at him. Now, Tony was a Mexican, married an American girl. They've been married for about 10 years, had a couple kids. Tony's a friend of mine. He's also a deacon of that church, and he's Mexican, not American. He does not have a citizenship, but he's a deacon of that church. And I'm sitting there, and I looked at Tony. Tony looked at me and started shaking his head, and I agreed with him. And I looked down the table, and there's the pastor. Pastor's not even looking at me. Well, the guy finished what he was saying. I couldn't control myself. I raised my hand. And I told the guy, "How dare you? How dare you? You lead a man to Jesus Christ, and you do not invite him here tonight? How dare you, pastor?" And I looked at the pastor and I said, "What kind of a church are you in charge of? I can't believe it. You got a wetback for a deacon." And I looked at the guy that made the statement about the black guy, and I says, "How come you're not against him? He's not American. He's a wetback. He's not even a citizen of this country." Pastor, if this is the kind of church that you're running, this is the last time that I will be inside this building. Art, I'm going home. And I walked out. Well, I rode in with Art that night, because it's like 10 miles from the house. And I started walking home. I left. I put my jacket on. It was like 30 degrees out. And I left. Well, I got about 4 miles down the road. Art pulled up and asked me to get in the car. So I got in the car and we talked. The pastor and about 10 of the men asked Art to go pick me up and bring me back so we can discuss it. Discuss it? No. There is no discussion. The man was totally wrong in not inviting that man here tonight. Cut and dry. And you can take that message back to him. Like I stated, I will never step foot in that church again. Sorry, Art. I'm sorry. If this is a thorn between us, you created the thorn. I did not. That church is no good. It's going to blow up because of the people in there are not Christian. They're not looking at it. They're not going by the Bible that I read. I wonder what Bible they got. And I got out of the car and I started walking home again. Well, Art turned around and went back to the church. Well, I made it about halfway home. Toot toot! It was Tony. And I opened up the door. And Tony looked at me and he goes, "Gene, you want to ride home?" "Yeah, Tony." So I got in and shut the door. Tony informed me that I created an explosion. Not when I left. People were just talking. But when Art came back and told them what I said, Tony said that he had to leave and give me a ride home for my safety. Because he overheard a couple of the men say, "We ought to go get him and force him back here." That's when Tony left. Tony gave me a ride home and we talked. And Tony agreed with me. And then he confided in me. He said that he is an American citizen, that he got his citizenship, but he keeps it quiet. He doesn't want anybody to know about it. And he doesn't like the word wetback. So I looked at him and I says, "Okay, wetback, I'll never call you wetback again." And Tony just started laughing. Well, we shook hands. A few weeks later, I get a phone call from Tony. He's got a friend that's coming, needs a place to live. So I said, "Okay, you can stay here, $100 a month. You know, you can pay my rent. I'll live there for free." So he brought the guy, and the night he brought him was a Sunday night, and I found out that they did not know each other. He found out about this guy coming, and this guy needed a place, so he thought about me, and he gambled. Well, I accepted the man. Him and I became friends. I took him to court one time, and he made a statement to the judge that sometimes I don't come home. Sometimes I stay away for days. Because the question was, because I told the court that I'm a criminal, and you can go across the street, you'll find out that I went to close to 100 interviews and I was not hired because of being a criminal. You're not allowed to work in the state if you got a charge pending. And you can see the letter that I wrote to the job referral place. It was a beautiful letter. Thank you, but I'm done. I've had close to 100 interviews and I'm not hired yet because I'm a criminal. So I ended up working for a landscaping place. Still going there when I could, trying to find a decent job to get me away from the landscaping. And that's when I met Lee, and I was being paid $600 a week for having fun in a car lot. Oh, I did that for, oh jeez, 2003 to 2008. I worked at that car lot. Last 5 years of it, I was $600 a week. Under the table. No taxes at all. None. So, anyway. Just wanted to bring that to attention, that God doesn't look at skin color, and neither should we. We should not look at that nationalities. A human being is a human being created in God's image. So what's God's image? Look in a mirror. God's image. You know, it's sad what people do. You know, to me it's very sad. But being in South Carolina, especially what was known as the Bible Belt, figure of speech, because there's more destruction against my faith in Jesus Christ on the East Coast than what there is here in Yuma. So, in a way, I am glad I'm out of South Carolina. In fact, I'm 100% glad that I'm on the West Coast. Anyway, I just wanted to throw that out. So, have a beautiful day, and may God bless.